we have to use this as part of our assignment. We are, I think I told you we're working on this first entrepreneur, and part of what we were supposed to do was, ideas. So that's where we came up with this plan. But let you sort of guide the conversation. I think we should maybe start again and then let you start asking us questions, which was very, very helpful for us as well. And
I'm still having a little bit of difficulty understanding you. It's kind of I understand about 3/4 and the rest is scrambled, but it's okay. We'll work through this.
Okay. So we'll let you, Sebastian, ask us questions.
Yeah. So yeah, the main question was basically sort of the infrastructure of everything. So a chapter would basically be sort of part of a local school, or like a local group.
Local group. Not necessarily be part of a school, but it could be. Okay. Ideally, it would have a school component.
Yeah. Okay.
Akil, your audio is killing us.
Yeah, I'm here, Pat.
Okay. All right.
It's actually I'm traveling, so I'm having my laptop. I'm just doing it, streaming it on my phone only. So that's why I'm having some troubles.
Okay.
Okay.
Actually, can you try only to mute yourself and to only unmute you when you're saying something? That might be because I have the feeling we're having an echo that kind of goes through your phone, and then because you have us on speakers, we can hear ourselves a couple times, and that scrambles things up. So if you can just mute yourself unless you're saying something, I think that might actually help.
Sure.
Let's see where that works.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I can hear you clearly now, Pat. So.
Okay, right. So the ideal situation, I think, but I'm not sure, is to start with a school, because I'm not involved in any schools myself personally, and I thought that would be a good place to start. I also thought about just promoting it locally, maybe doing doing a newspaper article or whatever, and just seeing who I could get involved. Mm-hmm. But if we could get a school involved, or a teacher at a school involved, and then pull in the broader community, which is what I was hoping for. Mm-hmm. That way you would be able to expand beyond the school and have a much broader reach and have a much greater impact. How do you feel about it? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does, because I think in order to kind of work, I mean, ideally you would want at least the first chapter to start working on a project, on a tangible, a project or outcome. And I think for that, first of all, having a physical space to meet, having maybe computers already, like in a computer science lab or in a library at a school. Obviously, are things that help. Unity is not the problem. Unity for you don't need a pro license for that or anything. I think with a nonprofit, or also so there's no issues there. So Unity should be free. At the same time,
I already downloaded it on my computer. I mean, anybody can get it.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
I guess in terms of hardware, you can start really simple. There are things like Google Cardboard, or other things that are really easy to start with. At the same time, also, there's always some hardware required. And obviously, doing something like that in Florida at a school is probably an easier start. But when you then think also about, areas where, let's say, like an area where economically everybody having a smartphone might not be as common, or things like that, then I guess that gets a bit more tricky. But I guess laptops, there's very, very affordable laptops available. But then again, if you have a school, that's already solved. But for virtual reality, I guess it's going away from the expensive setups. Obviously, that's the advancements of the last, like 3 years, I would say, even just where smartphones became much cheaper. Smartphone is a popular sort of platform now, and you just take Google Cardboard, which basically you can download for free. You can cut it out, put your smartphone in, and then you already have a fairly immersive, I guess, setup to look around and to explore a virtual environment. And so that's probably I would say the cheapest or the easiest way to get into virtual reality. Everything else requires a good amount of investment in terms of hardware, software, because it's not just Unity, but you would then also have to see if we're developing something from scratch, or at least developing something with a lot of, I guess, if you really want some immersive environment, you need the 3D models, you need animations, you need sound, et cetera, et cetera. Some of that stuff you can get for free online. Some of that stuff you either have to create yourself, or you need a subscription to some service, or those kind of things. So there's obviously costs for startup, but I think with today's technology, you can at least start for very, very cheap. Just a couple of years ago, you would, virtual reality was basically, how do we set a lab up? Let's say we need at least a grant of about $500,000. That's not true anymore. So I think that's a big advancement, or that's the technology actually taking off. But yes, again, so school I think could be helpful, and also obviously having somebody. A teacher kind of feeling sort of responsible for something like that, taking some responsibility to actually supervise kids there, or maybe having some open hours where kids can come in and actually have a look at it, so that actually students are interested and kind of see what it's all about. And then I think also virtual reality oftentimes is just about tinkering and just about trying stuff out, because there's so many things out there, and I'm still trying to I learn about new programs, new software, new hardware each and every day. It's crazy because everybody's working on it. And as I told you before, it's not just virtual reality. It's basically the whole industry of video and computer games, game development. Just because all the tools, everything that's there is based on game development, and there's so much out there. It's crazy. It's such a big ecosystem that knowing everything about it is crazy, and there's 1,000 different ways to develop stuff. And I've always tried to find. I didn't have big budgets so far. I have some commercial projects, but I always try to find minimalistic ways to develop things in terms of don't build it if it's already out there for cheap or for free, and also try to find tools that don't cost a fortune.
Yeah. That's the whole point. We have somebody on that's watching. She says, I'm not sure how you pronounce your name. It looks like Fazleen. Hi, Fazleen. Thanks for watching. She says, would Aurasma be suitable tool for students to use for projects in school? I've never heard of that. I don't know if you can see. Nor. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see the chat. And I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that. I'm thrilled to have you join us. Thank you, Nor. Thank you.
Aurasma. See, that's what I was saying. There's so many tools out there. You can never know them all. I have not heard of Aurasma yet, but I'm going to look it up right now.
I've never heard of it either. That's great. But she says it's used for AR. Okay. All right. We should look that up.
Okay, definitely something we can look into.
Yeah, there it is, Erasmus. Okay, cool. Thank you, Nor, for sharing that with us. That's great.
That's great. Absolutely. And I have to say, nice. I have to say, my expertise in augmented reality is somewhat limited because I'm mostly focused on virtual reality, even though they're very, very closely linked. But it's sometimes, especially some of the tools that might differ. Actually, one of my mentors, Mark Billinghurst, that I mentioned to you before. So he's been working in augmented reality for many years, and he actually worked on the AR toolkit as a sort of introductory tool or as an easy way for students or for anybody interested to get into development augmented reality very, very easily. I think that's already it's been out there for a long time, and I think it's been updated over the years. But I would actually have to check what its current status is, and I think Mark would also be a very good person to kind of to talk to see what's out there for augmented reality now and what his opinion on this is, because I think he's very much interested in spreading augmented reality to schools, to making it as easy and as accessible as possible. So I think his vision kind of really goes along with that as well.
Yeah. Well, that would be wonderful, though, to get him engaged in any way, shape, or form, because this is really the key. I need to get like an idea of what equipment is necessary. And what excited me, I think, was finding the technology that Pranav Mistry developed. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's now the global vice president for Samsung, but he was at MIT and he created programs. But the most impressive was 6 Sense, and he started taking things apart, and he wore this thing around, and it was so amazing that when I saw it, I said, that's it. Now is the time that Discover Seeds of Hope can actually launch, because when I saw what he had done, we were talking to some people. There's a lot of refugees, as you know, around the world. And one of my big things since 2005, I went to Thailand to work with Burmese refugees, to see if there was something we could do to help them. And this is really how it all actually began. And so my whole goal has been to get kids connected with remote communities, but to use handheld, cheap, inexpensive technology so that anybody could access the internet anywhere. And that's what Pranav Mistry did, is he created. Have you heard of him, or have you seen any of the technology that he developed, or heard of the 6 Sense?
6 Sense, yes, I'm familiar with that. Yes, I haven't used it in a while, but I've seen the technology.
Yeah,
yes.
And so it's like, what I thought of is getting kids started with using that cheap technology that he created, and get them started taking things apart, putting things back together, seeing if they can't figure out how to start making this happen, and then connecting with these other communities. What I did was, when I went there, my whole goal was, when I went to Thailand, and I went by myself, and I had connected with every organization that you could think of, especially the International Rescue Committee. And I came across a Lisu Hill tribe that had been sitting on the top of a mountain in a dump, really, surrounded by a trash dump. And they had left Burma and or ran away from Burma, and they needed a pipeline. And so I got them I helped them get a pipeline. And once they had fresh water into their into their village, it changed the dynamic of everything, because then NGOs could come in and send their people to stay overnight, because they didn't have sanitation facilities before. So once they had the pipeline, the Japanese came in and they helped them with animal husbandry, and then another group came in and helped them with agriculture. And all of a sudden, this poor group of people were virtually independent. And the chief said to me before I even left Thailand, he says, he said, people come here all the time and talk to us. He says, and when they leave, they forget about us. And I thought, oh my God, how could anybody forget? And these people walked down the side of a mountain a quarter of a mile and carried little jugs, and they bathed down in a stream. And this pipeline had to go up the side of the mountain and into the village. And I was so thrilled to have played a part in that. But what was interesting was, what the whole idea began, I created Discover Seeds of Hope from that, because I said, if I could do it, and I'm an old lady, by myself, well, and I had to come back and put on a fundraiser at the University of Baltimore, where I was doing my graduate studies. I thought, if I could do this, imagine what kids could do. So that was the whole point of the reason I started it. And the idea is to connect kids in remote communities and get them to really look at a community relative problem and work to solve a problem, as well as to give the kids an opportunity for education. The people that I met when I was there, a lot of these people, literally, the teachers would run through the jungle, staying ahead of the soldiers to try to go to the different villages to teach the kids. And what they told me is, if we only had some way that we could record what the kids are learning. And I said, well, that's it. You need a handheld device. You need a way that you could take everything with you, that you could have your lessons and everything with you. You could log what the student actually has accomplished. So when the kids came out of the, out of their environments and they crossed over into Thailand or whatever, this was the issue. They couldn't prove that they had any education at all. So when I went to Thailand University or in Bangkok, actually that's not true, I went up in Chiang Mai, that's what they told me. They said, well, this is their biggest thing. They can't even apply to go to school because there's no evidence that they have any education at all. So that really was the inception of, or conception of the whole idea of creating this program. And then when I was at the University of Baltimore in 2002 or 2003, that's when I saw, oh my God, they have a bachelor's degree in video games. And I knew then, I said, well, that's it. You can teach a kid anything in a game, anything at all. Yeah. And if you translate that and you put in missions and quests and projects and everything, it could be very, very exciting. So that's how I started this. And now with the technology the way it is, that's why I've now decided to, really reach out to people to say, okay, I really want to get this started. And as far as I'm concerned, the sky's the limit.
I think so, yeah, absolutely. I think the technology is really very close to being there, as opposed to just a couple of years back. It's really more affordable now, and I think there is already enough happening in serious games or in educational games. I think there's definitely a lot happening. So I think combining sort of the teaching aspect also with the students actually working on projects or on something that they actually think is meaningful or that can actually help other people, I think can also be very motivating. And so I think that's a good combination. I think it's really it really sounds like the idea and the concept is there. I think it's really just how to put it in practice, how to get it started in terms of the infrastructure. Is there any funding needed? If so, are there funding sources out there for this?
There's a lot.
And I'm sure so I'm sure there's a lot out there. So my knowledge of, especially in the U.S. of the funding system is, I was at the University of Southern California for my postdoc and then for some time as a researcher. I wrote a lot of grant applications for Department of Education, NIDER, that they were still called National Institutes for Disability Research and Disability and Rehabilitation Research, NIH, etc. But I'm sure there's all other sources out there as well. So that would be one thing. Obviously, as a nonprofit, you also have some other options as well for that. But I think you don't need a lot, obviously, to start the first chapter. And the interesting thing would also be for a first chapter, if you can find a school, what would be the resources that the school can already provide? Because again, you don't need a lot. It's really just and I can imagine. At least in the school in Florida, there's already there's a lot of kids who already have some phones, maybe some smartphones. University schools who already have libraries with decent computers. It would just be the matter of actually installing Unity on there, or they might already have Unity labs. Unity is becoming more and more sort of an educator's choice of tool to actually teach in classrooms. I think it might be more common at universities in terms of sort of computer science and gaming courses. But then that's the question. I don't think it necessarily is sort of just limited to a certain age group. Even just freshmen at college or something. 18, 19 years old. I mean, is also could also be a target group as well. because there obviously there's a lot of resources at universities as well who could make a chapter much easier, because there might already be labs and then people that have some interest in technology as well. And there's still a lot of young students that could be interested, and obviously there's universities all over the world that kind of give that global aspect also.
Right. I went to see. I used to teach at a school called Full Sail University when it was called Full Sail Center for the Recording Arts, and I taught there for about 5 years. And it's really a very innovative school for teaching technology. And I went in the other day and to see what they had, and of course they had Unity and they had all this other cool stuff. They haven't really got into augmented reality, but they're very big into virtual reality, and so it was really cool to see. And they had a thing that I'd never seen before. It was like a 3D scanner. I'd never seen a 3D scanner where you actually take a picture and then it immediately got into the computer. And I just thought, oh my God. So that's one thing I thought, well, this is what I need to get, is a list of equipment that I would need to actually get started. And let me just give a shout out to Noor. I must apologize. I don't know how to respond on these chats. I haven't figured it all out yet, so I'm just going to have to say I'm reading what you're saying in the chat, and I apologize. I just don't know how to. I haven't figured out how to actually get in and respond without just saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm trying, but I haven't." This is all new to me. I only just signed up yesterday. So.
Noor, I'm reading the chat as well. So I think the previous two questions get funding for the students to use the tools for learning. Yes, I think that would be a big goal. And the other question is what tools to suggest. I think there's such a big variety out there. Everybody has their preferred pipeline of how to create virtual and augmented reality applications. Ideally, there's a lot of applications out there that kind of sort of as an introduction, kind of teach you how to from scratch build an application very easily, like the what was it called, Orasma? Yeah, the Orasma seems like you only need a phone. You can get started with that. That sounds like a really great idea, and it seems like you've already used that. So I personally use Unity as sort of the game engine, which kind of holds everything together. But with that, so Unity is free. Unity is a free tool that you can use for game development. But it's not just for augmented virtual reality. You can build for mobile devices. You can build for Windows, for Mac, for I think they have about 25 different platforms. Yes, it's called Unity 3D. Website would be unity3d.com. And it's a game engine, but that's sort of what holds everything together. There's still, you need other software as well that ties into that. Where do you get your 3D models from? Where do you get your sounds from, animations, etc.? And there's a whole bunch of programs that can be very costly and very hard to learn, where you basically learn years and years to get to a mastery level. But there's also some very simple applications out there. Tools I like are, for their simplicity, or like Google SketchUp, for example. It's really easy to create a 3D model in Google SketchUp. It already has a big library of the Google warehouse where there's free 3D models out there. There is a whole bunch of other tools out there that make it really easy. Like there's, for example, Photoshop, which costs either a monthly subscription or a lot of money to buy from Adobe. Or there's GIMP out there, which is a drawing program where you can create textures or create images. There's basically for just about everything, there is a free or almost free application software out there that makes it fairly easy to at least get started in sort of the 3D kind of space. I wouldn't recommend all of these for classrooms just because the pipeline, like the steps involved in actually getting all these things together, or I would say too much for a student to actually get into virtual reality, augmented reality. I would try to keep it as simple as possible. But what you could then do is, there is, for example, Unity, the big advantage of Unity as a game engine is there is a huge community. There's millions and millions of developers out there who all, also, to some degree, provide some resources, some assets for free to get started in virtual reality, augmented reality, for example. So there might be some sounds out there. There might be some 3D environments out there. So the 3D models already out there that you can just like plug them into your program, and you can use that to then already just look around, or you can just get started by it. For example, the Oculus Rift comes with a demo scene. You can use that to kind of have your first experience to look around in the virtual environment, to see what it feels like. And then you can really look at, there's Google Warehouse, which has a lot of free 3D models, especially for nonprofit reasons for educators, for students, etc. There is Turbo Squid, which has three 3D models, which are free. There is Unity Asset Store.
What was the last one you just said? Squib?
Turbo Squid. Actually, hold on, let me. This is one of the biggest sites of that sells 3D models. A lot of the there's a lot more considerations about 3D models and so on. It's fairly complex actually, because you cannot use any 3D model in a virtual environment. It also has to be kind of optimized for use in real-time applications. So let me give you an example. Bottle here. I can model this bottle here as a very simple sort of just shape, and use that in a 3D environment. It's very simple. But then if you actually go into the detail, up here, like all the little moving pieces here, or the bottom is a fairly complex shape. If you model everything into tiny little detail, which a lot of models actually do because they're made for visualizations, not for real-time applications, it becomes so complex to render that your application is going to be really, really slow. So oftentimes when you look at 3D models, you need something that's optimized. So it looks still complex enough that it looks realistic, but it's the modeling itself, the complexity of the model is fairly simple. And there's a lot of different techniques where you can still make it look really, really good without actually having all the complexity modeled, so that it actually runs in a 3D environment. But that's already technical details. But what I wanted to say is basically there's so many free resources out there that you can use to get started, that at least give you a good sense that you can tinker around with, you can try different tools. So there's really a lot of stuff out there. Let me try to think of a couple others. So I think what you need is either one tool that can kind of provide the whole workflow altogether, like AR Toolkit used to be. I'm actually not sure whether it still exists, AR Toolkit. But yeah, it's an open source augmented reality SDK. It's still there.
I've never heard of it.
It originated in the University of Washington, Seattle.
Okay. That's good.
As part of the HIT lab. So that's the place where I did my PhD, not in Seattle, but in New Zealand. They have labs all over the place as well, where they used to have multiple labs. They have one in Australia, one in New Zealand now. And they worked a lot on augmented reality, and AR Toolkit is sort of also a one-stop shop. What was it called? Tool, basically, to get started. You can basically, you need a phone, you take this, and you can get started on development. It's interesting. I haven't used it in a while, so I cannot say too much about it, but I remember that it was sort of the first bigger tool that was spread in the community for augmented reality, when augmented reality still wasn't really a thing. I mean, it's becoming that much more now.
I'm looking at their website. So it's on here. So that's great.
So that might be also a good way to start. The other thing then obviously is Google Cardboard, which is sort of a good way to just for basically no money or almost no money turn a phone into a head-mounted display. So really, let's go to the website. It basically lets you cut out a viewer where you can insert your phone, where all you really need is cardboard and a little bit of imagination, and you just follow their.
I just saw who was it that just made a headset for this? Somebody just made a headset for this.
Yes, yes, and I think they tried to really make a very affordable headset for that, but I don't have the name.
No, I just saw it yesterday.
Okay.
This is cool though. I hadn't seen this Google cardboard. That's very cool.
Yeah. So
really, the cool thing is if we can get it to where I can go and I can say this is what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
What I mentioned earlier, Full Sail. When they actually started in 2 little rooms here in Altamont in Florida, and they started going to manufacturers and they said, look, if you give us the equipment, we will become your testing and training lab.
Yep.
And they've got over $50 million worth of gear. They got one Neve recording table that was $1 million right there. And this is what I envision happening. We could go to these manufacturers. One of the big ones, of course, I'd like to go to Oculus Rift. I mean, I just love what they're doing. The various places that are manufacturing and say, look, we have a group of students. We have students all over, and let us know what you would like tested. Send us the gear. Our students will work on this. They will test it. They will use it. They will figure out what works, what doesn't. They will look for new applications and new ways of using this.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is what Full Sail did. So I thought this is a great way to approach it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's really cool is if you get these young kids doing this now, they can start really working towards solving problems all over the place. And the one thing I learned about when I went to the Fab Lab at MIT, what they're doing all over the world is people are opening up these Fab Labs and saying, okay, you can be a member, you can come in and you can be a member and you can come and work on our Fab Lab and you can do stuff. Well, if you had a virtual reality fabrication lab, not using the same gear that they have in the MIT lab, but using gear specifically targeted towards this new age technology, I think it would really create something magnificent. And what the guys were doing at the Fab Lab, one in Germany, what was the university? No, it wasn't Germany. It was in Austria. The guys in Austria at Graz, they have a course that it's a business course, but he says they have a full MIT fabrication lab. And he said, so our students every year, the people from business come to the students and say, would you work on this for us? We need a prototype.
Yeah.
And so the students actually decide who to work with, and they choose specific problems or projects, and then they build those out, and they work on the whole thing, and they test it and everything. And I said to the guy, and the head of his department was there, and I said, well, what do you think if you gave your data to some kids who had a game, and they put it inside the game, and they do it all through virtual reality, and they test your design, and they work with it, they tweak it, they do all this sort of thing. They can build prototypes, 3Ds just like you can do, but they can put it in a game, and they could go through the whole thing. I said, would you be interested in that? He said, absolutely. He said, that's a wonderful idea. So that was where I really got validation for the whole idea of doing this, the student connecting to student in remote communities, because they really could. You could get some kids maybe who are, 13 years old, and these guys in Austria said, okay, we're working on this. We need a design for a new prosthetic hand. See what you can do. And they send them all the details. The kids put it into the game. They test it. They tweak it. They send it back. So that was really part of what the synergy of the whole thing is, to really broaden it, to really get it going to where people really are connected on so many levels in so many ways. And I feel it just could be so exciting. It could be so exciting. But I wondered if you felt that that was a realistic approach.
Yeah, I think one important thing is really that you have. So I think equipment-wise, we already spoke about this. Lots of free stuff out there. Lots of I think it's some of the hardware that might be needed, but again, companies can help with that. Especially if you get the interest of like Oculus, for example, or some others, maybe some computer manufacturer or somebody that could provide some laptops or things like that, or it's already at a school. And then the other thing is also projects, meaningful things to do, something to work towards. I think that's important. And again, that can come from the industry, or it can also come just from ideas of people that that help you out basically on the way. Who might also come from industry, or who might just might be researchers as well, university lecturers, professors, etc. I think all of that is doable, but once you have a project and students can really help with that, I think that would be great, because then it really becomes meaningful. It becomes from just let's just play around with stuff, which is also important because they also need to get a feel for the technology, and they should also probably sort of have the freedom to just tinker with stuff to some degree, to really see what you can do with it. And there's lots of examples out there that they can try out. Now, I think where it still is a little bit fuzzy for me is you refer to, they can take these designs, take it into the game. I think when I read your slides, you were also talking a little bit about an online virtual world platform where they can talk to each other and interact and so on. It sounds like
Unity is connected. I mean, that's a network.
Yeah, but Unity is a tool. It's not really, with Unity, you could build such a virtual world, but it's not there yet. It sounds a little bit like Second Life. Unfortunately, Second Life is, when I always hear Second Life, I think it's dead, but I'm sure there's still groups out there that propose, to NIH and the like to build something in Second Life, and they still get funding for it, or there's still funded projects out there. So I'm always curious, what are these people that doing? Because there's nothing going on in Second Life anymore. Anyway, there might be some other platforms, but because I'm sure people are working on that, because Oculus and Facebook envision the next sort of social media to be in virtual reality, to actually see other people, and to interact with them more physically. So I think Oculus and Facebook are definitely working on that. I'm absolutely sure.
Yeah, they are. You're exactly right.
So, but I'm not aware of a platform yet where this becomes really easy. So the easiest, like what we're using now, video chat is probably the easiest sort of communication way for a group like this to communicate right now. At the same time, because Unity is really is not a collaboration platform. It's a means to achieve that sort of, but it needs a lot of setup, and it's just really, it's just a 3D authoring tool that doesn't have any content yet. So
you got Scratch. You've got the Scratch platform from MIT as well.
Yeah. And
okay. I was thinking of Scratch because they'll let you. I thought of actually talking when I was up there. I didn't have time to actually go talk to them, but. That was one of the ways I was thinking of looking, as well as this thing that, I don't know how new it is, but with YouTube creating a whole new game platform, which is what they've done. And, I was thinking that might also be, because you can do live streaming, you can do everything now on YouTube. And I was thinking that might also be a really good way. But as Nora pointed out, one of the things that is you have to be very careful with is security for students and that sort of thing. So, and that's where Nikhil comes in, because he's very good at that's what his job is IT security. So I would think that. But gosh, my thoughts just went right out of my head just then. No, but I'm very excited that you are, you're even interested in this, and it looks like, it really is time for it to to come alive. And I think if I could just get enough people interested, they say, okay, well, let's form a coalition and let's start. You tell me, say, this is what I want you to do, ABC. I'll have that done. I'll go do that. That's what I'm very good at. And as you know, working here in the States, especially where I am, my God, you know, we're right by Disney, we're right by Universal. There's a lot of technology going on in this area. There's a big interest in University of South Florida. They're big into games and in virtual reality. So, but the real key is how do you approach them, and how do we get them started? And I have to get students. I have to get a teacher, and I have to get students. If I can get a teacher, I think that's the start. But you know, that's really the key.
I think some of the first steps that I can think of really are, so you have the slides, but I think there's you know, I think some details as a, like, basically steps of how to set it up are still missing to basically answer some of the basic questions that somebody who might want to fund this could have. Identify funding sources. Either, you know, there's lots and lots of avenues, as you know. Do that, write up for those funding sources, either, you know, for pitches for people to fund it, or through, you know, writing applications for that. Local school, finding people, local school who actually could put it in action, who have, you know, the space in a school maybe, and the interest to maybe, you know, supervise the kids, or, you know, to kind of get this started. I think those are sort of the first steps. Having the first chapter, having the first place where students can actually meet, where there might already be some computers. I think those are sort of the steps. Funding a place for first chapter, and maybe somebody who actually is, you know, a teacher who would say, hey, I support this. This sounds great. Or you know, maybe there's already at your local schools, there's already a teacher who knows Unity, or who has already tried to teach Unity to their students. That would be the perfect place for that, basically.
Really, basically look for teaching Unity is a good start.
I think that would be a great start. The question, yeah, I'm sure there's enough out there. The question is one, you know, somewhere close by. Where are you at in Florida?
I'm in a place called Lady Lake. It's Central Florida. It's
okay.
Northwest of Orlando.
Okay. Yeah. I lived in Port St. Lucie for a while. I was an exchange that was back in '99. I was an exchange student back then in high school. Yeah.
Wow. Oh wow. Well, I live in the largest community of old people in America. It's very good. But yeah. What's interesting about this community is these people are very supportive of students and kids, and that's one of the things I could. Let me just. I don't want to sound arrogant or, you know, pushing things off, but money is the last thing I actually look at. And the reason is because I know it's there. So money really is, for me, not a problem. It's not for me personally, but the money is out there. But the key is I have to be able to put together the right ideas. So going forward, I need to be able to say, this is an idea, and ABC, Mr. So-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so also think it's a good idea. And this is how we would like to move forward. So that's really why I want to get people literally around the globe saying, you know, we'll work with you on this. We'll work with you on this. And that's all I need. If I can get people to say, yeah, we'll work with you on this. It's like, okay, because that, to me, that is cash in the bank.
Yep.
You know, when you show support, when you've got people that are willing to support you, especially people like you, Sebastian, with what you've done and what you are currently doing, I mean, that's a very big deal. That's a very big deal. And that's what I need. I need to be able to say, this is my advisory board. This is my board of directors. This is who believes in what we're trying to do. And that's really what gives me the foundation to move forward. If I could just get enough people to say, yeah, we'll work with you on this. And I'm not asking for a lot of time. I'm merely asking for people to say, yeah, you can put my name down as a member of your advisory board, which would be great. I mean, I don't know if you consider it, but that would just be wonderful, because that's what I really need to build. I need to build up an advisory board so that I can say, okay, here they are. This is, look at who these people are, look at what they do. They believe in this. So let's get going. And that's it. The floodgates will open and things will start moving. Yeah. And I'm just like the Energizer Bunny when it comes to getting things done like that. But, you know, I'm retired. I'm not with any schools, not with anything. So this is what I do all the time. This is all I work on, is trying to figure out how to make this happen. Great. So this is my dedication for the rest of my life. And it's now because the technology started. Yep. To come up with the vision. You know, I started dreaming this 10 years ago. It's like, okay,
10 years ago, people were just as excited about it as they are now, but it just wasn't there yet. It just kind of fell flat.
Not people my age. I'm 65, not people my age. People my age, and you know, look at me and they say, why are you interested in video games? It's like, are you kidding? At our age, we can learn a lot if we can play video games. It helps your brain. It'll keep you young.
It does. It does. There's a lot of stuff like that.
You're I really.
So I think how I can help. So first of all, I can talk to a couple of people and see, you know, what they think about it. I think I'll keep the slides if you have as the ideas evolve, as it becomes more tangible. I think if you update the slides, I think that would be great.
I just made
that's fine. And I think what I can also help with is sort of I think I'm always trying to kind of keep an overview of what technology is there, how things fit together. What do you need for a lab? Because I'm the reason why when I read it, my first thought was this is great is because, you know, I think my idea, I have my own company right now. I work on that kind of software, medical virtual reality. But I think at some stage I would like to set up my own lab as well. And when I think about it, ideally it's also about, you know, usually like in this field right now, medical virtual reality, if you think about, okay, you need an engineer, needs to have at least a master's degree, blah, 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 blah. You need these and these people, researchers, okay, you know, PhDs, so much experience. But in reality is there's 16, 18, 15, 21-year-olds out there without any degrees anywhere, and they are just as good and just even more passionate about a lot of the stuff. So, I was thinking about, you know, what if you set up a lab at some stage? And I thought this, you know, I'm still fairly early in my career, so, you know, down the line, setting up a lab where, you know, you give young people the opportunity to kind of create something awesome without necessarily having to go through. You know.
This is a great start, because if you want to do that, all right, let's just say this. You want to do that. You figure out what you want, how you want to do it, what you want to do it with. And you get, and if you can, because you're moving to New Zealand, so that'd just be perfect. When you get there, when are you moving? Did you say
January?
January. Okay. This is great. So if you get to New Zealand, you get it set up, you figure out what you want, then what we'll do at this end, we'll build something similar, something that students at your end and at my end can both do. That would be great, because that would give me a way to go out, and I will look for funding for this. I'm not promising anything to you, but I'm just saying this is how I think it could work. I think it could work. If you got kids in your area and I got people here, I'm sure we could put together a package that would get funding. And now with Noor, she's in South Asia. She's an educator. You know, that would be great. Then you'd have like three labs. If we could just get started. But if you really want to do that, that would be great, because that gives us a basis. That gives us a foundation, and go from there.
Yes. However, I think that's something I would like to do. I am not sure whether I can actually pull this off myself right now, just because with my company, I have too many commitments that not fully aligned with that, just because it's it's a for-profit company right now, and I have clients where I have a lot of obligations for the next probably 2 to 3 years, as in funded projects ongoing. So I think right now I can definitely, I'm happy to help you as much as I can, and I don't mind spending time, or me setting this up on my end. I think is something that goes beyond what my schedule and my commitment. I think that's more than I can commit right now. However, I think I have to try to get a feel for the land when we go to Adelaide in Australia. And my wife is going to start, she's going to have her own chair there as well, Flinders University. So I think we'll try to figure out what kind of people are there, whether there's interest for that, whether maybe something similar already exists, what kind of labs are there, make contact with the industry and see what's possible there. And I think after a couple of months, I might have a better idea of that might actually be feasible down there, or even, I'm hoping that in the first couple of months, I'm going to meet a lot of people there, because I'm basically going to go through the 3 universities that Adelaide has, the hospitals, the schools, try to see, what new collaborations are possible there. And if I find anybody who says, hey, great idea, we can do this, and I see also all the other moving pieces that might be interested, like, there's a company there that would be interested, there's a school here that's interested, then I think we can pull it together and I can just facilitate and not necessarily run it myself. I think that might be a better approach.
That's really what I meant. That's really what I meant. I didn't mean for you to actually goodbye, Nor.
Goodbye, Nor. It was great, great having you here.
But that's perfect. I think that's what I meant. Really, I wasn't I wasn't saying for you to take this on. What I was saying is, if that's what you wanted.
I would love to, but I think that's really something I have to consider just a little bit further down the line. Again, I just started my company last year. I kind of have to give it a big push at the moment, really to get it going. But absolutely, so I'm happy to give input. I'm happy to talk to a couple of people and see what they think about it. I actually have a couple meetings the next couple of weeks with some of my mentors that are probably being good people to talk to, because they have a lot more experience in virtual and augmented reality, and they all want to see it get out there. And then I think then I'll be off the grid for a little bit with the move. Moving my whole family to Adelaide is quite the task.
What a big my God.
It's a second in 2 years. We just moved from Los Angeles to Regensburg about 2 years ago. So,
did you ever go down to the lab at the one in San Diego, the Institute of Creativity down at the University of San Diego?
There's an Institute for Creative Technologies at USC, and that's where I worked at.
Yeah.
That's actually where I worked at. Yes, I worked with Skip Rizzo. And this was also the lab where Palmer, the guy from Oculus, built his first prototype. So I've seen Palmer tinker on his prototypes when they were still really just taped together with duct tape.
Kidding. Really?
Yes. So that was the place I worked at. It's a university affiliated Army Research Center. And
that's a really that would be fantastic if we could get them, in any way interested in what we're doing. Basically getting grad students to say, okay, well, we'll check in with your little students and see how they're doing. It's like I don't know, internships or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I actually my program when I built it, but so I'm so excited, Sebastian. Thank you so much for talking to me. And maybe if I'll leave it to you. If you want to have another blab, let me know. And and I'm just available. This is all I do is I just keep trying to make it happen. So
no problem.
I'm available anytime.
I have your email address, so we can definitely stay in touch. And I'll try to. So I'll be on conference travel until the 15th, actually, the 15th of November. And then I'll have shortly after, the week from the 16th to and that week I'll have a couple meetings, which I can definitely talk to a few people about what we just spoke today, and that
Wonderful.
I can definitely get back to you.
How do you do the messages on this side? How did
you can see that at the very bottom of the right side, there's a little box that says send a message. Do you see that?
Oh yeah, and you just click on that?
You just click on that, you type, you press enter, that's it.
Okay. I thought that's what it was, but I thought I'm not messing with it.
No problem.
I didn't know if I turned things off.
Now I actually have to check because I just I had an old Twitter account that I never used, but I actually created a new Twitter account just to join this. So now I actually have to deal with my Twitter account. It's going to be my task for today, or one of my tasks for today.
You're going to get rid of it, or are you going to get
no,
with it?
No. I actually have to spend some time trying to figure out Twitter again. I actually never used it over the years, so but I'll do that.
So you'll follow me, and I'll follow you on Twitter then.
Sounds good.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you again. It was really great to meet you, and I'm so excited. So.
All right, we'll be in touch, and it's very early for you. So have you already slept, or are you actually off to bed?
To bed. I went to bed, but I never went to sleep. I just laid there, and this has been my problem. I just lay here thinking about stuff all night long. I think, I got to get up and I got to look.
Too many ideas.
Too many ideas. So no, I'll be going to bed. It's 5 o'clock in the morning now.
Okay.
So I'll be going to bed.
Well,
later. Wake. I'm excited. I'm not ever going to sleep for another 4 or 5 hours. So I might take a nap and then go to sleep tonight. So.
All right. Nonetheless, you have a wonderful weekend, and it was very nice meeting you.
Thank you so very much. I'm very grateful. All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Okay, that's great.